welcome back to Poland Survives, where we try to survive as Poland. Well, Mojo, my YouTube is unfortunately very sparse right now, but if you're wanting to subscribe and watch more of this when it comes up, you can. For right now, it has literally nothing on it, but thank you for asking. Alright, let's jump right back into this. We're finishing up our construction research, and what do we have next? Alright, so we have a 50% bonus in something. And I think the best thing to take it in is synthetic oil experiments. Oh, thank you, Mojo, I appreciate it. So, this is going to reduce, 106 days. Because it was going to be 200 and something, but thanks to that 50%, we are good to go. Marco Polo Bridge incident, here we go. Japan and Chinese forces have skirmished inconclusively over the strategic Marco Polo Bridge located just southwest of Beijing. China has rejected Japan's demands for an apology and territorial concessions, claiming instead that the breaking point of Japanese aggression has been reached. Diplomats fear that the volatile situation could result in a war at any time. So yeah, it went historically, and Beijing belongs safely in the hands of the Chinese, which is good for Beijing, good for China, and honestly, it's good for us as Poland, because we're trying to go communist Poland, and that only helps us out. AVA, I think trying to decide what to spend this next political power on, and I think what the next political power needs to be spent on is definitely an aircraft designer. Because what's going to be a pretty big thing is if we go to war with Germany, or if we go to war with the Soviets, aircraft is going to be bigger than anything else. Because we can paradrop into Berlin very easily, but we have to have air superiority to do that. So we need to stay up to date on our aircraft and our air doctrine. And unfortunately, that's one thing that I am slacking on now is the doctrine. So hopefully, eventually, I'll be able to do that here soon. Looking at it, though, these three trees, I see myself going battlefield support a lot. Because you get fighter detection, support mission efficiency, ground support, air superiority mission efficiency. Yeah, it's really good. You generate aces all the time. If you get the fighter ace initiative, it's just like every single mission you go on, it generates aces. So it's an awesome tree. It's hard not to go to that tree all the time. But I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit this time. Airbase expansion, 2 air bases there. Fighters. Close air support models. Ooh, I love me some close air support though. So, you know what? I'll probably end up going. I don't know. I'll figure it out as I get to it. Honestly. Interception detection, interception mission chance, ace generation chance, ground support, fighter detection, air support, tactical bombers, naval mission efficiency. Bombers. So yeah, this is definitely a bomber tree right here. Strategic destruction, which isn't bad, but I think I'm gonna go operational integrity just for the vastness of it. I can either do bombers or fighters, so probably end up going that way. But that's not gonna be for a little while. And I'm hoping this whole war isn't gonna be for a little while either. And what does Germany focus on? Air innovations. Okay, good. As long as Germany stays the fuck away from this tree, I'm happy. But when Germany starts trying to get into my territory, or they Anschluss Austria, or eat Czechoslovakia, that's when we start having a problem here. And as soon as this tree finishes out here, I'm going to start trying to get more land. Strike force goes to defense. Basic navy. Yeah, I'm going to start going for strengthening the Polish state as soon as I can. Disperse Industry, awesome. And it means I can go for Disperse Industry 2 and just go straight down this line. Because we really, really need factory output. We are still 2,000 infantry equipments away. Mate, just a quick tip. You will not have time to build up oil refinery bombers. Germany will very soon nuke you with massive infantry tank assault, and the army comparing to them looks quite poor. And it is quite poor. Unfortunately, as Poland, you don't get too good of an army. So, trying to get air support as quickly as possible and as many military factories as quickly as possible could determine the game. And Japan is starting to declare war. So, what my whole plan out here, Gurgle, is I'm trying to get as many factors as possible working on military stuff so we can produce tanks. And we already got down to, light tank 2. And it's great. And it might not be that bad of an idea, honestly, to start producing some light tanks. Which it does mean, though, that I'm going to need some more steel from the Soviets. And that should be it. Let me see. Unfortunately, though, production is going to be very, very slow on these tanks. Yeah, 2 a month. So, this tank production is just... it's not happening anytime soon. Alright, there we go. And Japan declares war on China. Hold up here. So, Japan is just starting to declare war on everybody and their freaking mother down here. Shanxi, People's Republic, and regular China are all going to be drawn into this war with Japan. And I would love to send volunteers to China to help them beat back Japan. But since we're trying to stay non-aligned, at least until we get that achievement, we can't. Alright. Aircraft designer, light aircraft. So all of our aircraft research now goes faster. So get the naval bombers, we'll get all this stuff faster, and we also have better air interception chances. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and make production lines for these. Doesn't really matter because can't produce them right now. We don't have the factory. We have 11 military factories. And all of that right now is trying to produce light tanks and fighters. And actually, it might be time to start focusing on deploying some tank divisions. But I'm gonna wait though until I can get the maintenance company. 6 days to do that, and army experience up to 10. So I don't want to make the maintenance company or make the tank company and then them automatically be no longer trained just because I added the maintenance company afterwards. So, gonna let that finish up and do it. Gurgle saying, but tanks comparing to be cost with just artillery support. Choose arty support, forget about air tanks for a moment. Pure 7 entry with 2 arty support engineer, recon, anti-air, anti-tank, maybe radio if you manage with production support equipment should make a trick. And it might. It might. And honestly, I love artillery. I am a field artilleryman in the army. So don't get me wrong, artillery is very, very needed. But the best thing to take out tanks is more tanks. I mean, I can get a tank destroyer that will do the same thing, if not better, anti-tank stuff here. And need fewer production lines for it. I can easily switch over from the regular tank production line to the tank destroyer production line. And it ends up being a matter of preference, because the Germans are going to focus on Anschlussing everybody first. I have 3 years until I have to worry about it. It's not a lot of time, don't get me wrong. But I have a little bit of time. So what I'm going to try to focus on doing, I mean, if we want to look at sheer numbers here, The anti-tank, yeah, towed production cost is a 4 compared to the tank production cost of a 9. It takes twice as long to produce these. I got it. But then you gotta start looking at the defense, the hardness, the hard attack, the armor, reliability, breakthrough, soft attack, speed, and piercing. Compared to the anti-tank, yeah, you get good piercing, and you get good hard attack, but everything else just kind of falls flat. I mean, yeah, granted, you get the same piercing on the light tank destroyers. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to push these light tank destroyers right now. I mean, granted, if I was anyone else, Gurgle, if I was focusing on, if I was, you know, Great Britain or Germany or France trying to focus on something, I would focus on doing the superior firepower doctrine. Because that honestly is the best way to do any sort of... Alright, see you later, Mojo. The superior firepower is the best thing to do for artillery. Unfortunately, we're not going to have superior firepower doctrine. So we're going to need to match the Germans tank for tank. And I can go ahead and see them massing them on board. I'm going to go ahead and reassign these guys from the Czech front to the... wrong one. To the German front. And instead of an offensive line, I'm just going to have a defensive holdback line. Right there, and an offensive line taking them to Berlin. Now, granted, I'm not planning to attack the Germans. I don't have the ability to attack the Germans. I just want that option there. Alright. So, next up. What was I going to research next? Alright, it's almost 1938. We're going to get those during 1938. Could get paratroopers if we wanted to go behind the Germans. But I don't think that's a big of a deal. I think what's going to matter though right now is I'm going to go ahead and get radios for the reinforcement speed. Just in case. I don't see that being a big thing. Yeah, right now the Germans have just a few infantry divisions, cavalry, a motorized, and some more infantry on our border right now. I don't know why they don't have any tank divisions on our border, but they just don't. And I'm just hoping it stays that way. Alright, available planes and reserves. Got the 91 interwar fighters, might as well just put them out there. Put them all on the Western Poland front. Alright, yeah, that'll be too easy when the time comes. Got it. So hopefully we will end up having at least air superiority inside our own country. Because by that point the Germans will hopefully be dealing with a war on two fronts. And they're still not focusing on Anschluss yet. I wish I could see how many divisions they had in the field. But, as you can see, they've almost doubled their number that they do have. It's probably due to those, 54 military factories they have. Alright, light tank destroyer. Awesome. We could go anti-air. We could go for tank artillery. But I think what I'm wanting to do is get machine tools right now. Yeah, tension's creeping up to 20%. It's going to keep creeping because everyone's going to be sending volunteers everywhere, We have... One second. We have the fact that Japan declared, which gives a lot of tension. Japan declared again. And then Soviet Union has started sending volunteers to the Republic of China and to regular China. So it's just going to keep creeping up that way. Alright. Let's get that. Naval bomber. We'll make a line for these, even though probably won't happen. And fill the railway gaps, awesome, and expand central industrial region, which will give us one more factory, which we desperately need. But we've almost got 11 civilian factories working on building more factories now, which is good. Alright, gonna add another dockyard there. And just let the rest of these factories finish for now. And we are still neutral, thankfully. Which means that whenever this war does get drawn into Italy, that we should be able to get that secret achievement and then immediately be able to turn anything else but neutral. And yep, control of the state of Hamadan is Poland or... So I'm going to go ahead and try to find out where this is. Oh, that's great. So we need to control the state as well as be at war with Italy and have troops in Tuscany, Abruzzo, or Latium. Or we can just get Iran into a faction with us. That's always an option. Yeah, it sounds Ottoman. It's probably was at one point in time. It's Iran right now. And I'm going to really need to look up the reasoning behind that. I'm going to have to look up why this is a thing. Oh, and we actually get a commander that appears too. So either Iran's going to have to be at war with Italy with us, or in a faction with us, or we control that state. Now, I guess theoretically, we could either Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey and end up controlling Iran. Not a very logical idea, but it could happen. We also have to complete this national focus. Oh, no, not this. You mean this one. Artillery modernization. So, after we get revanchism, we're going to focus on preparing for the next war. Studying foreign tanks, which will give us some armors. Research bonus for 10 TP, which is... Where's that at? Oh, that one. So we could actually focus down that right now. After the revanchism, probably. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go for. Recruit and deploy. We're going to edit the armored division to have a maintenance company. Save that. And then I'm going to train 12 armored units and throw them in Warsaw. And each one has like no tanks. So this is going to take a long time. Yep, and we now need 700 more light tanks. Congratulations. I don't think this one extra military factory is going to quite give it to us. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Alright, production, construction, here we are. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 civilian factories, and we finally get started on our military ones. And the reason I'm doing this strategy, I'm trying to get the civilian factories out of the way, is so the it's a snowball effect. It builds on itself. for each civilian factory you have done, it builds up one more that can work on the next civilian factory. The Anschluss of Austria. After a successful coup d'etat by the local Nazi party in Vienna, German troops have crossed the Austrian border and taken control of the country. No fighting has been reported, and the German soldiers were greeted by cheering crowds in the cities. In a speech before a massive crowd at the Heidenplatz in Vienna, Hitler announced the Anschluss of Austria, annexing the country into Germany. The oldest eastern province of the German people shall be, from this point on, the newest bastion of the German Reich, if that is what they wish. Alright, and that is where we start worrying. That is where we start to worry. We're going to strengthen the Polish state, and we're going to realize that Germany now has control of Austria and a lot more units in the field than we do. So why don't we end this episode on that happy note and pick up in the next episode. Thank you for joining us.